Welcome to the Get Smart with Money podcast. I'm your host, Dana Hernandez, financial planner and author of Get Smart with Money, Break Free from the Struggle, Build Wealth on Your Terms, and Rewrite Your Money Story. Here we talk about money, entrepreneurship, growth, and resilience, because financial freedom is about more than just numbers. Each week, you'll get practical strategies, inspiring stories, and the motivation you need to stress less about money and create more freedom in your life. Let's get smart with money together. Thank you for coming back to another episode of Get Smart with Money podcast. Today we are talking with Neil Twa. He has transitioned from a senior role at IBM to founding his own company called Voltage Holdings and achieving monumental success in the e-commerce space. He builds brands on Amazon FBA, and I know there are so many people out there who want to overcome financial stresses with Amazon. I know a lot of people are on Amazon for their own interests and their own things that they have to sell. So I've actually been wanting to learn more about Amazon myself.
Cool.
About how to sell my own products and things on there. So yeah, let's go.
What the hell to sell, right? That's usually the first question everybody asks.
Yeah,
yep.
what to sell on Amazon.
Right. Well, in my world, I started in the physical product arbitration world. So meaning that I would buy something low and sell it high, and I was using Amazon to do that. That has since changed. They really kind of discourage that arbitration now and wholesale and flipping products and that kind of stuff on their platform, because they really don't want to be eBay, and they certainly don't want to be Walmart. They want to be leaders in brand generation. So we switched into brand products, intellectual property, manufacturing our own products. And then that about 2014, 2015, we hit seven figures in our first brand. And we were sort of hooked, because as we had worked the process of building, arbitration and flipping products, it was literally trading time for money in a different way, because we were spending a lot of time like looking for products and finding products. And then when we would sell through the products, they'd be gone, and we'd like, well, now we got to get some more. So it's a bit of a hamster wheel. When we got to branding, and we realized branding, the power of it, both of us had never done that, my partner Reed and I. And we said, business partners, after a quick phone call, realized we should do something together, two brains becoming better than one. And I remember we came up with the idea and moved it to market, and we were blown away, because the ability to brand something then with creating multiple products, as long as we keep the profitability strong, then the market sort of takes on its own life with that brand. It starts to grow more organically. It does a lot more things on its own that don't require me to push and shove so much. I make money when I'm asleep. I don't have a hamster wheel of continuously, finding one product after one product. We get one product and two product and three and four and five, and then we see which one or two do really well, and then those literally can turn into tens and hundreds of thousands of units. And I don't have to find that same product over again. And now I've created a brand that has multiple products in it. In fact, we've created 12 brands that we run inside of our company now, selling all kinds of products that are private label and manufactured for our company. So we're not flipping other people's products now, right?
Nice. So what kind of products are you guys selling?
I'll tell you what, it's easier to say what we're not selling, actually.
Okay.
we don't sell in the supplement space. It's just too much competition and oversight from really large companies. We don't sell in electronics, because they tend to break. They have a large startup cost. You have to constantly re-engineer them, and then there's customer support issues more so to deal with. There are simpler products.
That's true.
And we don't sell like in apparel and jewelry and clothing, because they tend to get returned a lot. You need a lot of affinity and brand drive to really get competition going. And even get the profitabilities to be where they want. So that means there are millions of other product opportunities that we sell in home and kitchen and outdoors and everything in between, where we typically sell products that are $50 to $500 in retail price point, and then they're averaging somewhere between $100 and $300 in retail price point. And those are literally all kinds of products for the home, kitchen, gadgets, etc. It really gets down to making sure that there's a number, a fundamental business number we run by, a profitability number, that a product can't go into a brand that will reduce the brand's overall net profit, right? Which has to be at least 20% or higher. So we're very choosy about the kind of products we go into with competition and demand, but most importantly, they have to have great profitability.
Okay. Are these products made here in the US, or are they just outsourced a lot of the time?
Yeah, outsourced for the U.S. and Canada, Italy. We've got, of course, China's some obvious. Everybody wants to jump to China, but not everything is made in China. We have stuff made in Pakistan. We have stuff made in Vietnam. Really, it gets down to the quality of the product and creating a great product. Once we know that we have 80% confidence it can sell, when we go through the numbers and we understand what it costs to sell a unit of that product on Amazon's platform with its fees, etc., and we know what our cost of goods has to be to purchase that, and we know what it's going to take to ship it into the warehouse, and we have that 80% confidence that we know it's profitable. We know there's a demand already in the marketplace for it, so we're not creating demand, we're simply jumping on existing demand, and that there is an upside potential for that brand to create multiple other products. It's like borrowing a strategy from Apple or any other big retailer. When they locked into a certain product type, they just keep selling the same product in different packaging. And eventually Apple, and not everybody knows this, and maybe you do, the top selling product in Apple, do you happen to know what it is?
Is it not the iPhone?
It's the AirPods.
iPhone?
So the AirPods,
the
sell
AirPods.
more than the iPhones and the laptops and iMacs. So that's not the first product or second or third or fourth product they launched. It's actually the most profitable, highest seller. So they came and they basically kept expanding out their products, and they expand out their variations of products, 14, 15, 16 Pro Max. And really what it gets down to is more people buy the AirPods than anything else. And so that is where they kind of discovered in their portfolio of products. And we basically do the same thing. We create a brand with a portfolio of products in it. And the reason we do that is because we marry the brand, but we don't marry the products. Right? There are plenty of innovations in product opportunities that can create millions of different spin-off types of products, and we don't have to invent anything. We don't have to be like Elon Musk, right? 99% of brand owners are looking for ways to innovate features in a market demand, and then put a product in the market that meets slight changes in those innovations. If it's a 500 watt this, you'll create an 800 watt. If it's a black one, you create a red one. If it's a 4-quart, you create a 12-quart. There are many different ways to innovate features and functions of existing demand products and then enter that market and go into sales in that market. We jokingly say it's okay to be number 2. Yay, we're number 2. Because a lot of times number 1 takes all the heat. Number 2 can be more profitable. It can kind of come in behind number 1, and like NASCAR, eventually in 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 years, whatever it takes down the road, we can slingshot past that brand and become the dominant player in the marketplace.
Yeah, that makes complete sense.
Yeah, it's all about data and numbers at the end of the day. A lot of people put too much emotions in it. In fact, they get things reversed. So let's flip some myths around on their head. One is it is all about the product. And that's actually a myth, predicated by YouTubers and hopium guru marketers and course sellers, and maybe a little bit of the internet and the media and even the movies that say if you build it, they will come, right? In actuality, the Shark Tank shows and other things, those are really dealing with the less than 1% of people. The majority will find a product that has an innovation and take it to market and see its opportunity. So we don't marry those products because the product serves a life cycle, and it means it may stay for a few years, and then it's going to, market or innovations are going to change that. So you either need to adapt that product or keep launching additional products in your brand to expand it out to kind of allow an overarching portfolio versus just a single hero product. That can do really well, like it has from Croc. The Crocs brand pretty much exploded, but now they're even doing variations of all kinds of different Crocs to expand that market too, because competition is what it is, and they're staying in an innovation, first format, and that's allowing them to keep selling billions of dollars of Crocs every year. But the end result is we kind of do the same. We'll build that product, we go up, and we don't marry those products because you can't, marry something that isn't, forever. The brands can last for generations. Like, I don't know if you're a smoker, maybe somebody listening to this or whatnot, but you've probably heard of a brand called Lucky Strikes, even though you may have never smoked it, right? You may know of Lamborghini and Ferrari, even if you've never owned one, and probably can't tell me 1 or 2 of the car types. The end result is the brands, the products come second. So we focus on the marketability and the branding and the avatar of the person we're selling to first, and then we sell that data to an AI engine, because everything online is ran by AI engines now. And Amazon is an AI engine, right? It is looking, as Jeff Bezos gave the mantra, to sell all things to all people in 30 seconds or less. So its entire mantra is to get you to buy a product when you get on that website, because that was your whole intent to get there in the first place. And you were probably trying to decide something you wanted to buy for some solution. You're moving, the kids, whatever, a new light for the house, a piece of furniture, something you were already in motion, something somebody said, hey, grab one of these. And you're like, yeah, I'd love to get one of those. So by the time you get to Amazon, you've made some decisions in your mind. You have a preconceived notion about what you want to buy. You didn't go there to browse, most likely. You go there to reaffirm a purchase decision. It's not like being interrupted on Facebook while you're looking at cat memes or AI baby videos, right? This is like, I'm doing something important. And that's why I really like that psychology of that Amazon buyer, because my job is to just position a product in front of them and let that audience find that buyer and then connect the dots. And if I've done a great job of reinforcing the buying decision that they had when they showed up, and the engine over here is saying, well, this person looks like that, and they put it together, well, then they'll buy my product. And they can buy my product at 50, 100, 1,000 times a day when I get that right. So when does it actually become about the product? It becomes about the product after it's delivered. So when you get the product, you actually have it. Did you actually buy the product? No. You bought the expectation of the product.
True. Yes.
Yep. You didn't actually get the product for 2 days or less. So when it becomes about the product is when it actually shows up and you unbox it and you're like, yay, product. But before that, you didn't actually buy the product, did you? You bought the hope and belief of the outcome of that product, whether you wanted to lose weight, gain weight, jump higher, go faster, cook better, clean better, whatever it was, you bought the outcome of that product. Now, you'll keep the product, love the product, if it doesn't break in 5 minutes and does what you expect it to. You'll return the product if it doesn't, or you may even leave a bad review if you really hate it and it pisses you off, right? And so you'll leave a bad review. Okay, so when I'm selling to this and you're understanding this, and hopefully those who are listening are still keeping up with my 90-mile-an-hour speed here, the effect of that is, if I'm really good at speaking your language about that product and entering the 3 questions you have in your mind at the time you find my product, you and that engine will come together to buy my product. And then this system, this FBA, this Fulfilled by Amazon system, this big machine that I don't even know how the thing freaking works without falling apart, the warehouses and the ships and the planes and the trains and the automobiles, bring that product to your doorstep, right? Bring it to the last mile. And you get that product and you're super happy. So I don't have to do any of that. Like, I'm not out there trucking for that. I'm not flying the planes. I'm not in the warehouse. I'm not doing any of that stuff. They're doing all that. And that's the benefit of creating some automation in my business, because then I don't need employees in warehouses and what's called economies of scale. I don't have to increase employee cost, warehouses, etc., to reach millions of people with my product. And there are 200 million Prime members on Amazon buying 6,500 to 7,500 products a minute. It's an absolute machine. And when I get access to that machine's data and their people and customers, the benefit of that is I can learn how to sell all kinds of products to all people in 30 seconds or less. So it really gets down to, is it profitable? And do I believe that I can present it in such a way through images, copy, graphics, and videos to have them go, that's the one I was looking for, and buy the product.
Wow. Yeah. There's a whole like side to that we never see and we never hear about.
No, it shows up at your door and you're like, yay. But what you're not realizing is, it's an opportunity for anyone. I've taught 19-year-old high school dropouts and 76-year-old grandmas how to do this. The end, it really gets down to a process, a way and a methodology by which we can repeat this. And I've done this with 1,000 students in 12 years. I've built 12 brands of our own. We have some really amazing case studies of clients who did 5, 10, 15, 20 million a year in 5 years or less with building these brands and starting on Amazon, which is just a sales channel, one, and then moving into things like Shopify, websites, TikTok, even retail to move out other sales channels. And the whole reason I do this, to be very clear, is that when we build these businesses, it's like building a house. It's creating an asset from nothing that appreciates 3 to 5 years down the road, and then I can sell that for a much higher multiple of profit at that time than waiting for 2 or 3 or 4 more years. And since there's something called inflation, which is down but still exists and will continue to exist, in fact, money's worth less now than it was when we started this conversation, and will continue that way unless something dramatic changes, then it is best to sell the business on its way up for maximum profitability and take your skills, your new money, and your abilities and go right back to the market, deploy those soldiers back to work and do it again. This time you'll do it faster. You'll know more about how the whole system works. You can possibly even make a greater business the second time when you do it. Now, what's in it for me? Everybody's like, well, why do you do this? I don't sell the course. I have a mentoring, I have people that get coached because when I've trained them up since 2019, I now have 4 people, technically 5, who are running the companies for me. I trained them how to build their own company. They became good, and out of about 300 or so people that I've introduced this to since 2019 who came alongside of myself and my team one-on-one, they have built great businesses. And with that, I did a hand raise inside of my business builder group and said, who wants to run a company with me and profit in the sharing of the operations? And I had a bunch of people raise their hands, and we've selected kind of the cream of the crop, and those individuals are partnering with us in profitability in the business. The others have an opportunity to get their business grown up, have the benefit of stop trading time for money and building their own company and building their own assets. And then I look to acquire that business away from them when they're ready to sell it. We have what's called a first right of refusal. It's borrowed from a real estate terminology, and it basically means in a good faith agreement, no contract, that when the time comes to sell, they come to me first. And they say, hey, I'm interested in selling my company. When that happens, my private equity group and I will look at those businesses and determine if it's a good fit for what we're doing. And then we may buy it away from our client and give them an opportunity to exit that business. I now know how it was ran. I know how it began. I know who the person is. I know the upside potential of that business. Should we acquire it, we're going to take it to a much higher level, and then we're going to sell it again. So I'm sort of at the beginning and the end of the business, if you will.
Yeah, definitely. Could somebody like me start my own brand? Because I make wreaths. Say if I wanted to sell my wreaths, home decor.
Absolutely. What you need to understand is this engine has all kinds of product types in it, and every product type is now being assigned by this AI engine. It's actually referred to as Cosmo. If you do any research, that's what you'll find out. In this AI engine they created, and after 20 years of data, they now have a lot of information that's been training their AI systems on how to basically put a product in front of you faster. A better product that you'll buy faster at higher amounts. That's what that whole engine is doing, like every second. And if you want to sell wreaths, what you need to determine is there a customer need that exists for that already inside of that engine that's driving demand for that product? And if the answer is yes, then the question becomes, how much is that demand? Is it a good demand? Is it got more than 5 million searches a year, 10 million searches a year for wreaths or wreath types that you could produce? And if the answer is yes, then the question becomes, can I sell it profitably? Okay. And there are data points that you would know to track that basically say, well, if it costs me this much and I can sell it for that much and Amazon's fees cost me this much, then after all those things, I have a gross profit. And once I understand what my gross profit is, where's my actual net profit that falls out the bottom? What do I get to keep after every unit is sold? Okay. And once I know my net profit for us, if it is above $12 in net profit per unit, that's a metric that triggers for our profitability in our green light process. If it is not, it will go red. And so we need to keep our profitability in such a way where after fees, inventory, marketing, taxes, and everything else it takes to sell one unit of that product and buy another unit of it so we can sell another one, then I have to maintain that profitability. If you don't do that correctly, you will end up either not selling a lot profitably, or you may sell a lot and not sell profitably, because the whole thing about revenue is the same thing about moving a lot of product at low profit. It isn't sexy, and it's a lot of work. Okay, what we want to do is balance good profitability with moving a good amount of units, so it turns into a great revenue stream, a great profitability stream for us. So you would need to determine that need was there, that you could sell it profitably and manufacture it, and that it makes sense after the cost and fees to sell it on a platform like Amazon. If all of those things green light, then the answer comes down to how you present your product against the competition in the marketplace. You can go and look at their listings and their copy and their graphics and say, oh, I see how this person is selling really well. I could do the same thing. And that, for you, on the outside of the data systems we have, would be looking at what's called bestseller ranking. So as you look on that Amazon listing, there's this little area in there, and it has all this data, and it's got stars, and it says, top something in home and kitchen, and top, 100 in wreaths. You're going to look at those, and the closer those bestseller rankings get to 0, the more units that product is moving. Okay. And if the profitability typically will be in products above $50 in retail price point, if you see one that's selling for $24.99, that's probably not going to be a product you can move with a lot of profit. You might move $2 triple net at the bottom. You might move $3 to $4. There's quite a bit of effort to move on a $3 to $4 product. Not quite as sexy. I prefer to sell in the 50 to 500 retail, with that 100 to 200 price point, up to 300 really being our sweet spot. That means we have profits usually between $25 and $150 in profitability per unit. And now we can make profit, we can pay for marketing, we can grow faster, build more inventory. The business becomes a longer term, greater opportunity when that profit is greater.
Mm-hmm. That makes sense. Mm-hmm. So when it comes to branding, do you have any tips on how somebody would can create a brand?
Yeah, well, if you're going to sell on Amazon, okay, what branding means is at first you're leveraging Amazon's brand, right? It's their marketplace. You're building a brand. No one's ever heard of it first. So create the one you believe matches the affinity of the kind of product or price point that you're shooting for. Okay. A $29 product may not be very branded or look very quality, but the difference between that and say a $49 product is its branding and the way that it looks like a quality product that's worth maybe $69, but you feel like you're getting it for, getting $49, but you feel like you're getting $69 worth of value out of the product. So again, we want to create a great product so that when it becomes about the product, it doesn't break, it's a good product, it meets the requirements, and hopefully they not only keep it, but they leave a good review. That's the best outcome possible, right? So we do want to create that great product, and we don't want to be afraid to create branded assets or take the time to have someone else build high quality images or high quality photos of our product, because that really creates the perception of a higher value. It's very different to look at a Walmart flyer than to pick up a Williams-Sonoma catalog, right?
Yes.
Or it's very different to go look at furniture in Walmart than to go into Pottery Barn. So you can kind of already see that there's a preconceived aspect of the price point and quality of each of those two. You want to lean towards that Williams-Sonoma or Pottery Barn side if you want to receive the higher profitability, which means your branding has to kind of come into more align with what they're presenting, right? That means your copy, your font, the graphic colors, the way you illustrate it, even down to the videos you make and everything have to come across as, yeah, I'm maybe buying a $149 product, but I feel like I got a $499 value out of it. So you really are going to have to elevate the look and feel and assets of that image and the copy that matches more closely to products if you're selling in the home space, like Williams-Sonoma or Pottery Barn, and less like IKEA.
Yeah.
Right. And that's what branding ends up being, that you can buy a chair from either of those places, right? I told my daughter this before. In fact, I had my kids around here, and the 4 girls, we homeschool, and we talk a lot about business and finance and entrepreneurialism. They're all running some state of a little business that they're working on right now. For my 13-year-old who has an eBay business over here, you can't see it, but there's products all over here she's selling eBay. To my 15 and 16-year-old, they're working on the marketing videos using AI and being trained to build branded marketing assets using AI that we use in our brands. And so really the output of that is the branding quality is important to the perception with that value. So the end result is we want to put that time and energy into that listing to really make sure that somebody says, well, this isn't IKEA, this is more Williams-Sonoma, but I feel like I'm getting some value in between, because there's an audience for either of those. So you have to believe that if I decide to sell the product in Williams-Sonoma, that I have a product and a brand that can compete with that. And many times when you're just beginning, it is your confidence, not the market. So you have to get out of your own way and believe that it's possible, right? When I had $500 in my bank account, I wouldn't believe that we were making hundreds of thousands a month or more in business. And now that we do, to me, that's kind of a normal thing. But for people who haven't done that yet, that feels like so much. So we get challenged at the end of the day by our scarcity and limiting beliefs in the way things can be done. And if you're going to be challenged to do these things, you really have to believe more in the abundance of opportunity, the amount of opportunity that's actually out there, and the people that want to buy things from you when you stop and realize just how many there are. Just how big of a scope it actually is for you to sell, 1,000 or 10,000 people a product in a year. That number seems to a lot of people at first to be astronomical, especially when you haven't sold your first product. But when it gets down to it, in the greater sphere of not only the number of people, but the amount of product moving through our country every year, that's really, really, really small, right?
Yeah.
But for the average person to get to 6 figures or more in profit a year in an Amazon business, it's not that hard. It's actually not hard to sell 6 figures in product on Amazon. It is more difficult to follow the rules I just set on this podcast about what profitability and kind of products you have to maintain in order to hit the 6-figure profit, not 6 figures in revenues. Make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's really more important to stay focused on the profitability of the products, not the revenue overarching. And so many people get caught up on that. It's a hopium mindset thing at the end of the day. What we really want to focus on is if I could sell 100, 200, 500, 1,000 wreaths in a month, and I could do it profitably, how much would that change my life and opportunity? And if I could see my way through the challenges, solve the problems, overcome them, and keep working until that became a reality, if it happened in 6 months or 18 months, it would just happen because it's going to happen. And I'm not going to give up until it does. Then anyone, even yourself, can create an opportunity. But let's be very practical about the 4 things it takes in its practicality. Very pragmatic, okay? It equates time. Okay, it has to be a priority over anything else you're doing to make something like this work, and that's literally any business at the end of the day. That's doing the podcast. Got to take time to do that, right?
Yeah.
The energy and attention have to be there. In other words, I have to stay focused on the things that are required to do to make this move forward, okay? And then it requires money. Money is an aspect of business. I know everybody wants free, they want organic, they want the viral, they want the influencer, they want everything to happen now. And they don't want to spend any money doing it. But that's not how business works. It really is not how business works. And I know that's how everybody wants it to happen. And I understand that. I've been there when I had no money. I completely get it. But it's not how business works on the scale of life-changing opportunity that is for every person who has the time, energy, attention to go out and get it. So you will have to dedicate money to this process. It is in our world, it's a physical process, which means I have to acquire a product so I can sell a product. Okay, it's not a digital thing, although I have a digital asset, I have to produce a product that goes into the warehouse. Okay, when I sell that, I have to buy the cost of goods and inventory. We typically ask people who work with us to come in with at least a minimum and $25,000 to go to market to test the first 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 variations of these products, because law of averages means that if I invest in 5 products, I will find 1 or 2 of those products that will kick off. I will get better at learning how to do it. I will get longer in the system and market share. My brand will have more time to mature. I will mature in the process until I just realize this is the better product and launch it, and all of a sudden it takes off because I worked that process until one of those fits up. When it does, I can simply take that first product that pops off and go get all the other variations of it. Okay? I know the market wants it from me. I know I sold the 8-quart this. I know I sold the 36-inch wreath of that. So now I'm going to go out and do the 24-inch wreath and the 48-inch wreath and this Christmas one and the holiday one and the other one and the other one until I keep passing by everybody wants the 48-inch wreath. Okay, so that's what we discovered. We launched 5 versions of wreaths in this hypothetical situation. And they all want the 48-inch. Why? Because I launched them all and the 48-inch one starts selling more than all the other ones. What am I going to do? I'm going to launch more variations of the 48-inch wreath to go wider across what more people want to get from me until I have 10 SKUs, all right, in the system, 10 products in the system that are all 48-inch wreaths, okay? And I follow that process. I'm now dialing in my metrics. I'm dialing in my product. I'm dialing in my market. And now I'm able to dial in my money. At that point, I'm able to see in a 90-day cash flow plan how my money's going out, how my money is coming back in every 2 weeks, and what it takes to invest into more wreaths. Because as a physical product business, your opportunity when a product takes off, let's say the 48-inch one goes, I got to get more of them. And you may find really quickly, I can't produce them anymore. I've got to outsource them to a manufacturer to create exactly what I want for me in that quality. And they're going to say, well, that's great. We'll do that 100 units or 500 units or 1,000 units for you. You're going to have to pay 30% down of what it costs. We'll hold the 70 until it's finished manufacturing. And then when it hits the water after it's checked out of customs and it's ready to go and it's been quality controlled, you'll owe us the 70%. And you'll have to pay that because that's your opportunity cost, right? So when it starts to sell, your opportunity to grow it becomes the greatest risk that all private label sellers and branded, physical product sellers have to deal with. Capitalization of the inventory. It is the opportunity cost that a lot of people don't want to be faced with because they don't want to pay for the additional inventory, but it is a requirement to increase the sales.
Yeah, exactly. You need that.
Right, you have to. But here's the thing, right? sales fixes everything. That's a phrase we say in our company a lot. There's two components to making this whole thing work. One is being able to sell the product, the primary one, all right? We talked about profitability. That's a known factor of selling a product, is making sure that it's profitable. The second component is making sure the product doesn't break. It's a great product. We could sell the snot out of a product and find out that it comes all crashing down because the product breaks, something in manufacturing didn't work, and people are starting to leave us negative reviews and the sales start to fall off. We got a bad product, but we can fix that, can't we? We fix the product, we take it back to market. We know we can sell it. So we fixed the product, so we've made the equation whole, okay? Here's the problem that a lot of people face when they think about the product first, and that's all they focus on. They could go bankrupt focusing on only the product, but not actually selling it. Ask me how I know. It was a very hard lesson in life to figure that out on my own and spend a lot of money launching an amazing product that no one is ever going to hear of, even going and getting patents on it. And even going through the whole process with some partnerships and finding out that whole thing crashed and burned into bankruptcy.
Oh, man.
Don't learn that lesson. That was a tough lesson. Innovation, sales, product, that is the important process of this equation. If you have that great product, you think it's the best invention ever, but you do not focus on selling it, you missed a big component. It's also something you can solve. You just hopefully will solve it before you run out of money. Okay?
Yeah.
So if we prove we can sell the product first, we're solving the biggest part of the equation. Right? And in the best part of the equation. So again, regardless, and that's why I mentioned this earlier about which products, regardless of which product I sell, it must have that profitability and demand and an 80% confidence using Amazon's data, the processes that I've developed that say with 80% confidence, there's demand, profitability, and upside potential for us to enter that market. Even if we come in as number 2 to start off with, we're okay. We can be somebody's Pepsi to their Coke. We can be somebody's McDonald's to their Burger King. That's cool, right? And get in there and start selling that product and find out that it sells. And once it does, more capitalization and inventory will go into that product to allow it the opportunity to sell greater. And as long as we didn't foobar the product, the manufacturer didn't do something stupid, it doesn't break when the box gets moved through the UPS. Like in the country, every once in a while, a box shows up and I don't know what it looks like. It looks like somebody kicked it, threw it, dropped it, arm wrestled it, did like a WWE maneuver on it, and then dropped it on my porch.
Yeah.
And like, it's just absolutely crazy, right? Like they destroy those products. And if that cannot be a problem, you have the winning equation. The only way you're going to know that is to execute. So that's the other major thing here, is you have to execute. But don't worry, I mean, we don't marry those products. We're going to test through the execution. We're going to market 100 or 200 of those products. We're going to find out if we can sell them. And then we're only going to get invested in the ones that sell well, but we're still not going to marry the products. We marry the brand. Because the traffic and opportunity is so great that when one of those comes along and it hits, and I've seen it more times than not when people follow the process, one of those products pops off and then they have a new problem, right? And that's to get that capitalization. But it's a problem that can be solved when you have the sales. You have the sales and the revenue. You can get the credit cards, you can go to the bank, you can do other ways to capitalize that and make that an opportunity that's even greater and faster. Sorry, that was a long-winded answer. Those of you who are still staying on, I appreciate it.
Yeah, that was awesome. That was awesome. Yeah, it makes complete sense. I've just never had anybody explain that process.
Yeah.
I've always thought about trying to get into Amazon, but it just, I don't know if it's not really that user-friendly, or you have to know someone or take
it has gotten more
or...
complex. Let's be, again, I'm not an Amazon fanboy. It's a great place to leverage their customer base to get in front of sales and fix that first equation and figure out how to become an e-commerce builder so that you're prepared to learn how to brand, market more products, and then expand into other sales channels. Like one of the biggest problems is people not knowing how to market products, pay for traffic, build websites, and get people to actually see and buy their products, right?
Yeah,
big
so
challenge.
Many steps.
Yeah, technically it becomes very overwhelming at times, just all the components of the technicality. So with Amazon, they got all that technicality figured out on one end. On the other end, their seller performance center, their seller dashboard can be a bit complex. Amazon itself can be a bit complex about its rules and its processes and why it lets certain things occur. But if you follow a specific business process from the ground up, a fundamental of business, from the business registration to making sure you're in the pro seller account, to registering your trademark, to getting what's called brand registration, and putting the right steps in order so Amazon sees you as a professional seller and a business, then they don't treat you like a side hustle or hobbyist someone who's just there to flip products and jerk around and create customer support problems. And then it gets a little easier to move through this system. Yes, there are complexities. 12 years of this, it's gotten more complex, but in any complexity, it creates opportunity. You just wouldn't go it alone in today's world without somebody who you know is selling in the marketplace to teach you how to make sure you sell correctly. But the opportunity is very great. Most don't see it yet because they're not on the ground like we are. They're still hearing the news and the tariffs and all these things are potentially bad, but in actuality, we're in a net positive. Tariffs are turning our country around. Most people were, naysayers. I'm not being political. I'm watching it from a business perspective. From a business perspective, nobody is doing that to empower America, which is actually changing the economics inside of our country, and I'm watching it happen in real time. And from the ground up, we're seeing this giant hole is suddenly created where people got afraid of tariffs and jumped out of the market. And so for the first time since 2013, there's a huge opportunity online right now. A huge opportunity to fill up that hole where everybody jumped out, and it'll probably be back in around 6 or 12 months. But if you jump in right now, in Amazon alone, there's 5.2 billion impressions a month. But since the tariffs thing started, there's 300,000 less sellers, which is the first time Amazon has ever seen a net negative increase in seller in a year since they opened the platform. So what's happened is brands that are in there that we control have gone from 30% market share to 43% market share by doing nothing but staying in the market when everyone else panicked.
Like stocks, just stay in.
Stay in the fight, right? Don't panic. Don't listen to the naysayers. Turn all this crap off. Get off the freaking news and stop panicking, right? When you can get control of your situation, mind over matter, right? And follow the process, you will see that it will pan out. It created huge holes. So right now, there are opportunities in products that we wouldn't have tackled 3 years ago that are huge opportunities right now. So we are moving into those products fast and furious, doubling down, putting millions of dollars into this business for the fourth quarter, knowing that those holes are there, but the demand every month is still the same, right? But the opportunity has changed. And one of the biggest factors you look at in any industry is where are the bigger players sort of operating in that ecosystem that are helping you not only prop it up, but to make it even larger. Well, in 4 years, Amazon has doubled the amount of $100 million a year companies that were created on that platform. So there were 50 $100 million a year companies 4 years ago. There are 100 now. Okay. Wow. So that opportunity right there tells me that this system is on its full maturity cycle. While they're 49% of market share, at that speed, they're going to be like 55% market share in the next 2-3 years. And those who are coming along for the ride have the opportunity to build products and brands in the next 3 to 5 years that could create generational wealth. With AI systems, optimizations, and that change in the marketplace, there's one thing I know for sure, having ridden this for so long through so many big changes like COVID and tariffs and other things. Physical products are recession-proof. They're always in demand. You don't have to worry whether people want them or not. They always want them. The prices change. People will still get those products. You're still paying for gas, so am I, right? You still get the products you need or some of the products you want. And at the end of the day, it's the second oldest profession in the world outside of today's OnlyFans, which we're not going to talk about because I have daughters. And physical products are, always going to be in need, and the mode is never going to change, even if the economy or systems or AI that powers it changes, which is changing and creating huge opportunity. People still want their products. So as long as I still control the product and manufacturing pipeline of my brand, it doesn't matter what changes with AI. If the warehouses change employees, if other factors in the economy change or other opportunities change, physical products are still going to be there. So it is literally a hedge against recession to move a brand forward where you control the outcome of the product and someone wants your product and it's in demand in the market. You move with the market. I can move in what's called supply of elasticity and demand, economics 101, right? And we saw that huge factor in 2020 because we were on the ground. And in 2019, we had $4,800 per 40-foot container shipped into the country. In the first quarter of 2020, when everybody was kind of panicking and the markets were shifting, everybody was shutting down and going home, we saw 10 years of growth in the business in 3 months. In the cost per container, it went to $25,000 per container. And because of our profitability metrics, because we were able to hold strong, have a war chest of funds because we had the profit, we sustained through that next year. when others fell out of the market, and that created huge opportunity. Fundamentals, business, generational, creation of wealth and wealth management are something that I teach as a part of the fundamentals of building a company. And in the 2, 3, 4, 5 years it takes to build these successful companies, if you do it correctly and are willing to live like no one else is willing to live in those 3, 4, 5 years, you will have something that no one else has after that. You'll have an opportunity to create a generational time freedom and wealth. You'll be able to choose your time and how you want to manage your time differently, and you'll be able to choose where you do it and when you do it. And that is the most impactful thing of any business creation. Just understand, it's not a fight that everybody wants to fight. There really isn't. It's not for everybody. That is the honest to goodness truth. And, the hopium guru course selling, guys out there that are really just trying to suck down the $3,000 and $5,000 courses, they won't tell you that. They don't have a vested interest in it. I mean, people get involved with me have a vested interest. When they get going, I want to buy their company. So I need them to do the process correctly. I want to vet them to make sure they're serious, that they have the 4 things that they're willing to dedicate no matter what, under their own power at 100% of their own responsibility and control to make that happen. That's how I fulfill my goals. They get a win out of the business growing up really well. I get a win because I see how it runs and it operates, and later on, we may both win should they choose to exit the company. That's why I only work with a very limited amount of people.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
So going back to starting up with your own Amazon selling process, does Amazon kind of guide you step by step when you got to get registered for all these different things?
Yeah, to a component they do, but here's the thing about Amazon, and I don't know why they do this, maybe because they don't care, maybe because it takes a lot of time, maybe whatever, but they leave out nuances, and you will have to stumble over them and solve those problems. A tenacious person who wants to go at it themselves will be able to do it, right? They will be able to figure out a lot of those processes. What I find with most beginners who are starting out, they don't understand the importance of taking 8 of the 10 hours they're going to spend on product research and dedicating it to making sure the demand, profitability, and the market truly exists, and then spend 2 hours implementing it. They'll do the opposite. They'll take 2 hours to try to decide and say, oh, this product and this system says I should launch this one for $27, and then spend 8 hours trying to launch that product, wondering if it's ever going to work after they bought 2,000 or 3,000 units of it, and then they have to make it work. So they married their product, and that is completely the wrong process. Please do not do that, okay? You test 100 to 200 units of each variation of the product, you launch each of those variations, and you find out what the market wants to buy from you, and then you follow the data. If you don't do that, you can make serious mistakes. Most Amazon sellers give up in 6 to 8 months. Many don't make it past the first 4 or 5 figures in sales before they give up. And mostly it's because they don't have a serious process by which to identify what it is the market wants to buy from them, and they give up too soon before they can discover it.
Okay. And is there a dashboard, back office type of thing for the sellers to go in there and look at their data and what's selling?
Absolutely. Okay. Yeah, it's called Seller Central. And when they get the professional seller's account on the Seller Central, it gives them a big dashboard of information, links, features, etc., to be able to put their products in and list them and sell them. It's a little more complicated than launching a product just like ad in eBay, because the best way to launch on Amazon is what's called a flat file. It's basically a really large spreadsheet that Amazon gives you with a bunch of data points you have to complete, and you have to upload it correctly into Amazon. And most of the time people have a frustrating time getting that right because they never get the data points right. So it takes them 3, 5, 10 tries to get it right, so that the system sees it correctly. And we have a lot more control over what that intelligence and engine wants to see and how we position it in front of that AI to ensure that it really understands what we're trying to sell and the value we're trying to create, so it properly aligns it with that audience in there that wants to buy those products in 30 seconds or less. So there's really a lot of steps that are not terribly complicated, but when done in the wrong order or missing some of the nuances, it just takes a lot longer, probably takes a lot, definitely takes a lot more time, and will certainly take a lot more capital than just trying to follow a predetermined process with somebody looking over and going, yes, that's right, no, that's wrong, here's why you did do this, go back here and do this differently, and get that support. That's extremely important for a lot of people to be able to have success. I've talked to a lot of people who took a course 3 or 4 times And when they finally start with us, it's because we are mentoring them one-on-one for 12 months and telling them these are the right ways. This is how you do it. We have daily, weekly, monthly support, call options whenever they need it, private chats, and a real support and effort, because I want to see their success be as high as possible for their effort and energy and money they're putting into it.
Yeah, that's awesome. There's pretty much nobody out there that does one-on-one and private phone calls and like just stuff like that. It's more of what I would be looking for in a course creator and somebody out there that's trying to teach. You know, you can't really learn in a huge group like that. So
it's tough. It absolutely is. And I have 4 coaches who are dedicated to this process. Each of the coaches have worked with us for the last 3 to 5 years. Each of them were people who sat on the other side of a call, podcast, or whatever like this, listened, started their company, got in there and built it, followed the process, became successful. And then in our group, we said, hey, who might want to help coach on this process? And we had a big old bunch of people who were successful who were like, we'll definitely help coach. We built the company, we're running it, we're super happy, this is all really great. And so now I have coaches who are actually running and operating the companies that we started with them, helping other people raise up and train and getting on calls with them and making sure they do the process that we put together to correctly, our product launch process from Voltage. And that's created more success stories because of that.
Awesome.
And those, to be very clear, it's all application for us. If anybody is listening to this and ever wants to know what's going on, they have to talk to me. I have a sales team. I'm not trying to run $1 million a month coaching business. I am looking for those longer tail individuals who want to really dedicate to creating a serious business. We'll stay in the fight with the money and energy and attention it takes to do it. And then we'll build a business that becomes an asset.
I think a lot of people listening, since you said that just now, do you have to start with a substantial amount of money? How much would you recommend?
I don't, the word substantial rang in my ears for just a second, because one guy's 500 is another guy's 5 million. So whatever is defined as substantial to some people, it would slightly be different. So if I'm going to go buy a franchise, I'm spending $50,000 to $250,000 or $1 million if I want to buy a serious franchise that really has enough brand power to turn off money, right? If I'm going to spend money on, starting or buying a company, I'm going to have a life lesson very quickly on how to operate that company, especially if I don't or know how or have never operated that company. That sounds really sexy until it comes back to you to make the decisions on things you don't know anything about. So when we build, we intend to build so that those opportunities can become a reality once trained to build. So in that process, I do ask that people have at least $50,000 to $100,000 in year one to put into the business, into their education, and actually see it turn into a going concern of revenue and profitability that they can deploy in year one, so that year two and growth actually can occur and create substantial opportunity. And by years 3 through 5, they might even see that business at scale. And with that, they now create all the opportunity they expected to have. This is not a 3 to 5 month or a 3 to 5 minute opportunity. And those who are willing to plow back that money in year one will see it faster grow in years 2 and 3, especially in online systems where maturity, market share, reviews, and time in market are an important point to seeing that snowflake turn into an avalanche. And so it takes that time, those products, to actually grow that out. That's cheaper than buying a business usually. That's cheaper than buying a franchise, and you own it all. Unlike splitting the profits with a franchise or whatnot, you keep 100% of the business, 100% of the opportunity is yours. And when you get to a position where you have a 6 or 7 figure business turning off 5, 6 figures or higher in profitability, you have the opportunity to create an asset moment, a generational wealth moment, should you decide to exit it. And you just know that the timeline is at least 3 years for anybody who starts into a serious building exercise. That's a lot. It feels like a long time. And it might sound like a lot of money to some people, and I understand that because I was there once upon a time when I didn't have any money. But it's not a lot in the grand scheme of a business that can turn off that kind of money every month, right? Or even every week. And because you're now reaching millions of people with your product, the upside potential of reaching into millions of dollars in sales is a reality, because now you have such a larger market than just a localized market within 25 miles of where you live. You now have every person in America who's on the line that can buy your product with a credit card are now an opportunity for you. And that creates a huge upside.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it takes a big mindset shift for people who don't have a lot of money like that to try and be okay, you know, with spending that much. It's really investing that much, though.
In yourself and in your business, first and foremost, right?
Yeah.
First, it's about trusting whether or not you believe you can do it. Not because you heard me, not because someone convinced you to do it, but because you actually believe that you are going to do it in whatever time frame it takes, no matter what happens. You will solve every problem, you will stay in the fight, and you will keep going. You may pivot away from what we call the sunk cost fallacy, which is the idea that I should stay all the way in until I go broke. No, not recommended. But you can pivot through changes and opportunities that create one step closer to what you're actually shooting for. And I will guarantee you that what you start with will not be where your ultimate growth goes. Okay? So we have to be willing to pivot, change, adapt. We have to be willing to invest in ourselves, invest in the willingness and desire to do it. Okay, now whether you work with a coach or not, you still have to be willing to do and be tenacious and try and fail forward, okay, and keep moving through that process until you see the successes that you created, so you know how to replicate them. And once you get a hold of that, that's like a little dime bag in a crack, and once you hit that crack, you're like, you know, yep, shut it up, and then all of a sudden it's like game on, and you know, you're just unstoppable once you have those first little successes. And those are just wins that you have to see in your own effort to build your confidence in what you are investing in and where you're going, so that you will take the next level of risk to gain the next level of reward. So everybody's risk level is different. Physical products and private label is not for everybody. You can arbitrage products on Facebook and eBay and other places. I don't recommend it on Amazon because they're killing most all of those counts now. You can wholesale products to get started, to get that momentum going before maybe you start in your products on the physical side, or you may even get your products up, say on TikTok or Shopify, and go out and spend time doing, you know, videos to create demand and make sales. But one way or another, you know, if you're really serious about it, you will figure out a way to make it work. And that's investing in yourself and the confidence to do it. If you can't bring those to the table, then what happens is you bring a victim scarcity mindset to the table. You might consider it a side hustle or hobby business, which gives you, as a victim, an out. To blame them, to blame the system, to blame whatever, but never point it at yourself and say, I could have tried harder. I should have tried better. I should have stuck in the fight. I let my mindset get over me. I let the challenges overcome me. We build, you know, mountains in our mind that don't exist, that we created. And many times these are mountains we're supposed to climb, but instead we carry them. We carry them because we want the world to commiserate with us. Oh, it's so sad. You gave it a good shot. I'm so sorry it didn't work. If you're that kind of parent, your kids are going to suffer. Okay? If I'm that kind of coach, my clients are going to suffer. If I let my kids do that to me, they're going to suffer in life, right? And I wouldn't let my clients do that either.
That was really deep. That makes so much sense. And that's really like a wake-up call for probably a lot of people.
Well, I hope so, because in my way, it is the truth. And because of my experience, it is my truth. It may not resonate with everybody on this call, although I know I'm not speaking to everybody who's listening to this podcast right now. I'm typically speaking to the one or two people who really hear it, understand it, and have made decisions in their life that maybe this is something they want to do outside of me, and they've decided they might want to do it. And we have a phrase, you know, when the mentee is available, the mentor will appear, right? And it has to do with their willingness and desire to do it and go after it no matter what. My mentors would look at me and kick my butt if I blamed them for not doing the work that I was supposed to do, and then came back and said, well, it's too hard. They would kick my butt. That is, and rightfully so, because what we're talking about is digital products and creating physical assets in a situation that does not require you to go out and dig ditches in negative 40-degree temperatures, right? We're not talking about hard stuff here. So if we're going to build those kind of complexities, we've already built in too much limiting belief into the entire system, and you will set yourself up for failure. And that's why I interview every person, because I am looking for the conversations, the signals, the tonality, the body language, and everything that tells me this person is ultimately going to fail, and they're going to blame me, because I can lead a horse to water, but I cannot make it drink. And when those people don't want to drink the water, I'm not going to shove their head under it, right? It's just not going to work, okay? And I'm certainly not going to take their money so they fail on their dime on my time, because that becomes a negative thing, and I don't want the negative reviews on the internet. I don't have any. I got a short little last name and a one-word brand, excuse me. And it's not hidden out there. The internet is forever. So I'm going to plan on keeping it that way for as long as I can.
Yeah, definitely. And do you have any tips on time management? How did you start managing your time when you started to get more busy?
Yeah, so when I started this, right, I was not only broke, but my wife had gotten sick with our fourth child. We just came off of bankruptcy, and so now I was dad, mom, caregiver, home guy, take care of everything, and try to be businessman at the same time. So time for me was an absolutely screwed up nightmare. So it was literally every 3 hours I could sleep when there wasn't some kid to take care of or things that needed to be done between business or whatever. I was just going with no expectation of time other than it was going to keep going and I was going to keep doing something until something happened. So I was going to make it happen no matter what. So when people ask about time, and this is not about you, this is about the question of time. When they ask me about time, what they're really saying is, how do I prioritize something like this different than other things I'm currently doing right now that may or may not be my top priority? Okay, let me answer it like this. Again, I have 4 daughters. One thing I won't go to my daughters and say is, Dad doesn't have time for this right now. Okay, what I'm actually saying in the unspoken word is, you're not a priority. Okay, if I'm going to be really honest with them, and it's going to hurt, would I look them in the eyes and say, you're not a priority? Would I actually verbalize those words? Could you imagine that? That would be the most horrible thing you could do to your child. Not the most horrible, but it's pretty darn bad. So what I'm saying and not saying is, you're simply not a priority. I'm prioritizing other things over you, which means my time is imbalanced. My time and perception of my time value and where my priorities for my time lie is imbalanced. Which means you are not a priority. You are not a balance in that time. And I'm, basically saying, not right now, I can't do it. So what I tend to do is change the way that language works. I tend to change the way it works because you don't have to do anything. You get to do it. And when you understand the power of the changing that phrase in your life from this point forward, if you stop saying, I don't have to do anything and I don't have time, and what instead you say is, I get to do this and I'm reprioritizing this time, okay, and that is not a priority, you've now created an empowerment language. You have changed yourself out of a victim idea that you have no control over your time and no choice and no freedom, and you are now saying, I control my time and my freedom, which means I am also capable of accepting the consequences of those challenges and choices that I'm about to make. And what we're really running from is the consequences. That's why we use the other language. So if we're going to be honest with ourselves, we must change the language.
Yes.
Okay? Which means we need to reprioritize. In other words, when someone comes to me and asks, Neil, I need to do this business, but I only have this much time, and I say, you're not a good fit. And they're usually like, what are you talking about? What I want somebody to say is, I want this no matter what the time takes to do it. That is how I'm going to reprioritize being a pharmacist and working 40 hours a week with 2 kids, and I'm still going to figure out how to get this done. Whether it takes me nights, weekends, or whenever, it doesn't matter. I'm going to get it done. Or whether a doctor or a state rep or a stay-at-home mom or a 19-year-old high school dropout, they're going to be like, I'm going to figure this out. Okay, now we're talking about the right things, okay? Because you are going to now reprioritize time to whatever it takes for you to receive the outcome of that benefit, and you're going to stop saying you don't have the time, and you're going to reprioritize it and say, that's not a priority, this is a priority. Right? The same way I'm going to change my language with my children. Because why? If they come to me and say, well, I don't want to do that, I don't have to do that, I'm going to say, no, you get to do that, and the consequences are you're going to meet me head on if you don't. So you need to rechange that into, I get to do this, and then look at the positive aspects, refocus, reframe, and find a way to get it done and make it enjoyable.
Yes. So even if someone, so for me, I asked that question because I know a lot of people say that I don't have time. I've been unfortunately saying that more and more recently, and I know that I need to stop. So, because I work 50 hours a week right now, so I'm fighting with the whole thing of I need to cut my hours down, but also it's going to be kind of a paycheck issue if I do that right now.
There's get to, have to, consequences, right?
Yeah.
When I said I get to leave IBM in 2007, I accepted the consequences of leaving that paycheck behind.
Cool, got it. That is all you need to say.
You understand? Okay, so I didn't have to do anything, but I got the opportunity. I took the opportunity to say, I'm burning the boats, not the bridges. I'm burning the boats and I'm out of here.
Yeah.
This is how I am going to change my life for the better no matter what. It's how I want my family to be done going forward. See, the year before that, I flew for almost 300 days that year, excuse me. And I did not want to be that guy. Okay, setting around one of the final consulting gigs before I stopped flying, before I got laid off in July. Well, actually, I said laid off, but I actually took the early retirement because I'm like, screw you, you can't. I'm not quitting. You're giving me early retirement. And so we took that in June of 2007. But just before that, like December or so, I was on the last project. We had the last meeting, we had the last meal together or whatever. And I remember it just dawned on me because my mind was already shifting towards like, I'm out, I'm done. This is the last project. I'm going to wait and see what happens in the next 6 months. But one thing is for sure, I'm out. I'm done. I'm not doing this anymore. And what was really reaffirming for me was a phone call from one of the guys. And at that point, I was like 28 or so. He was in his 50s. And he was talking to his wife about missing his daughter's appointment. I know it sounds cliche, but this was literally the conversation he was having. And he must have had it before a bunch of other times or situations around with the phone call. It's just that moment I happened to ding, clarity opened up. I heard the call and it struck me. And I heard him talking with the disappointment, with the heartache, you can see it on his body and his face, his frustration. His wife is like, well, you weren't here. And he's like, well, tell me, get her on the phone. I want to talk to her. And he was talking to his daughter about how he missed her dance and all this kind of stuff. And I'm like, I am not going to be that guy. Like, I'm not going to be 50 years old sitting here talking to my daughter on the phone about the things I miss. I refuse to do that. I refuse to do that. And so I was determined, no matter what, to make that change. Yes, it had consequences. Yes, the first year did not go as I expected. We got married in March of 2007. In June of 2000, I was off. In October of 2000, we got pregnant. By December of 2000, she was on bed rest and couldn't work anymore as an RN. So we were out. Like, that was it. Nobody, young couple, pregnant, and boo, we're off and running. Everybody's like, there's a perfect time to start a business and a perfect time to run. No, you'll just never do it because all of those things would make you stop.
Yes, exactly.
Right? Like, if I told you that if you quit your business now to start a physical products business, that in the next year you might get married, have a kid, someone's going to lose their money, you're going to have no income whatsoever, you'd probably be like, I ain't doing that.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? But the fact of the matter is that's trying to predict the future.
Right.
With some kind of guarantee. It's not going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? You're just going to have to go. Now, I'm not saying quit your job. When people come to me with that, I usually say, take whatever time and energy and effort you have while you have an income to start the change process and empower yourself to do it forward. So if they lay you off, you're like, screw you, I quit anyways. Right? So if you have that next opportunity, you're like, you know what, it doesn't matter. Okay, I'll reduce my time because I'm making up for it over here. I already have a plan. I'm already where I am empowered. I'm moving forward. I'm not going to be victimized because one day they go on a Friday and lay me off. And now what? The whole weekend I'm panicked and sick because I don't know how we're going to get anything done because I didn't plan for it. Now, the world will say, let's commiserate with you. That's so sad. Oh, that's so bad, right? But the world will also commiserate with you when you get in debt.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's a problem too. So we don't really want to be like the world, do we?
No.
No. Which means we have to make hard decisions that the world is not willing to make. And the not obvious decisions. And we have to do it in empowerment, not in scarcity or victim or commiseration. I am so on my soapbox right now. You asked me that question, Dana, and I didn't get off of it.
That was great. No, I love that. This whole conversation's been amazing.
I'm glad you think so.
Thank
you for coming to my twat talk.
No, that was amazing. That was probably one of the best podcasts I've actually ever recorded.
Well,
honestly.
That's very kind. That's very kind of you to say that.
It was great. And what was the name of your podcast again?
High Voltage Business Builders Podcast.
Awesome.
You can go to voltagedm.com/podcasts. You can check out the free presentation and other things we've got there. Check out any of the podcasts that make sense. We talk a lot about business and e-commerce and wealth creation, wealth preservation. There are all kinds of methods, including e-com, and really deal with just the private label physical product world. That's all I focused in on. As Jim Collins in Good to Great says, I'm a hedgehog who is just hedgehogged into this business model and will be here for the next 20 years because I love building brands and creating things. And if that's of interest to you whatsoever, check it out. Talk with me. Check out the free presentations, free workshops, free. There's a lot of things you can learn from within my website and emails that are all free for you to understand, to run the numbers, free spreadsheets and tools you can use to kind of help you understand what to do. And then if it makes sense at some point and this all resonates with you, you might reach out to me, have a conversation.
That is awesome. I'm going to put the link down in the bio. Also, awesome. One more question. Do you have a book?
I do. I think we're giving away some free copies, right? Yeah, let's give away some free copies.
We can.
Yeah, so in the show notes, there'll be a link and a code for 10 free copies of the book. So anybody resonates today and want to learn the strategy, the book right here, Almost Automated Income with FBA, teaches the strategy of business, fundamentals, finance, research, capitalization, the sell and exit process and M&A components. It isn't a tactical guide, so you're not going to open it up and be like, here, open your seller account and do these things. That is a info-based kind of thing. The strategy really gets down to making sure you understand how to make money, how to create money in this process, how to make profitable money and brands be created, and then really understand the upside and potential of the opportunity. It's 15 chapters of interviews from my podcast with myself and experts talking about those areas of focus that revolve around the product launch process. And there's resources and other things in the book to help you and support you along the way as you learn those things.
Awesome. All right. That was great. Well, hang on a second. I hope everybody learned so much and has new things to think about in their life as well.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much for being here, Neil.
Thank you for having me on. It's been a pleasure.
Yeah, thank you. It definitely was. Please like, review, share, and subscribe to this podcast, and follow us on Instagram at GetSmartWMoneyPodcast, as well as checking out our website at GetSmartWithMoneyPodcast.com.